Hello everybody, it's good to be back at Schneider's. In this case are modules that I purchased here in 2011 because I used to live just like 10 minutes by bike, which was kind of dangerous. But yeah, in 2011 I started, I think they call it a modular journey for whatever reason. It's a journey apparently to get into these instruments. But yeah, 2011, I was here. There was still this rondel around with all the modules. And I was thinking of putting together a West Coast style synthesizer because I hadn't ever heard one until I got this plugin called Alto by Joranalogue. And I was, what is this? I need this in hardware because even back then, I really wanted something tangible to work with. And I subscribed to a forum that now goes by Mod Wiggler. And they said, yeah, the Buchla is a bit expensive. Yeah, and try like Eurorack. And yeah, I drove here and I had a little budget. I thought, okay. Back at the time, I was mostly making music for theater. So I had a budget of like 1,000 euro for an instrument a year. And this was going to be my modular instrument, 1,000 euro. When I came here, Tom showed me the DMF2 by Schwayman, which is a beautiful filter, absolutely wonderful, and it sounded just like the things that I wanted out of a modular. But that alone was 569 euros. So my budget ideas went through, and yeah, the second module that I got from here that I still have is maths, and I had to wait for that 6 months. So if you are looking to get a Collide right now, you have to wait not 6 months, but maybe like 4, I think, right now, because I think the next batch that's shipping is going to be in January. So it's a waiting game with modular. But I love working with patch cables. And when that movie came out called I Dream of Wires, I was like, yeah, of course I dream of wires. That's something like when you start patching these things, the way that, because most of the magic is in patching. I mean, that's the thing. It's not the modules themselves, it's how you connect them. And that is like a riddle your brain tries to solve at night in dreams. And that's something I found entirely wonderful. So I'm here now because, as you know, I've got a new module called Collide 4, and it's good to show this here because this space is not going to be a Schneider's soon, right? It's going to be a synthesizer museum. So I'm thinking of myself, 2011, buying my first modules here and yeah, coming back here and now presenting my own module. And this is based on a bunch of stuff I got into because I got into modular. And that is test equipment. So this is based on a beautiful little thing called a lock-in amplifier. And you can see one here. This is the Princeton Applied Research, don't let me get the number wrong, 220 lock-in amplifier. This is in nuclear instrumentation format. And this whole it's a portable setup. This is called a Portanim. So this is from the radiology department of the Krankenhaus, the hospital in Bielefeld. And I got this, I've got 3 of these. I hunted for these. Some of them come from particle accelerators. One comes from the 184-inch cyclotron, which was created first in 1942, was used to enrich plutonium for the nuclear bombs, was finished in 1946, and by the time one of those lock-in amplifiers was made, and in there was used for eye surgery using radiology, which is a fascinating story in itself. And I was able to track it down to the exact room where one of these was used. So yeah, these things have history. But I'm going to give you a short rundown on what a lock-in amplifier actually is. So basically, these are science instruments. These are meant to find a tiny fluctuation of a signal in a huge amount of noise, so in a particle accelerator. And you're trying to match a frequency that you're looking for. Where is it? You're trying to find it. You match the phase, you match the volume, and then bang, there it is. Erich Schlappi from Schlappi Engineering told me that back when he was working as in electricity, they used lock-in amplifiers to analyze problems in like big power lines. So that would be a typical application. So I entirely misused them, of course. And I got onto that course because a friend of mine, Dennis Verschoor of the Waveform Research Center in Rotterdam, made a Facebook post. And it was like, the things you need to buy if you want to get into making music with test equipment. And it was unobtainium. Everything on that list was complete unobtainium. And I thought, oh, okay, to hell with that list. I'm just gonna get the first thing I can get locally. And that was a big Rode and Schwarz sine generator and an oscilloscope. And I went there by bike. So I thought, well, we can just grab it. It will be fine. I didn't realize that the sine generator was 25 kilograms and the same was the oscilloscope. So I had to take a taxi and come back for my bicycle. But when I went home and turned that thing on, it just went. Wonderful. Yeah, yes, I'm doing a poor impression of it, but it sounded really, really good. I mean, trust me on this. I think there's still a video where I say, oh, I got this, and I made a little space here in my rack, and it's not gonna go bigger than this. And it got into a whole wall. So a literal wall like this, full of these instruments. And I was able, with watching auctions, talking to people like Dennis and other in the States, to find all these rarities, these basically obsolete instruments now. And I was able to make music with them. And when you make music with these, you're basically hitting the overload light. So you're striking them, you're sending them a hot signal, and then it just explodes beautifully. And that's going to be the first sound I'm going to show you. This is the lock-in amplifier, and we need to send it a signal. So I got these banana to BNC cables. And I'm going to give it something from maths. And I'm plugging that into the signal in. And now I need to return back. I've got another BNC cable. Plugging this into A here. I'm going to monitor. Monitor. Okay. Now we'll see what happens when I send it something. It's nice. I really like the lock-in amplifier. So what it is, what you're hearing right now, is basically a high gain amplifier and a tight bandpass filter. And when you send them a ping, they overdrive. This was not something that was intended. These things share chips and functions with some of the earliest synthesizers, because Princeton Applied Research used Nexus chips, and those are similar to the ones that were used in the ARP 2500. There is a Princeton Applied Research module called the PAR189 that is exactly the multimode filter of the ARP 2500, just with these controls, which are stepped. Drop it. That's so nice. And with, like, if you want to sweep it, you use this. All of these things are switched. You're not supposed to be able to sweep them. You're supposed to set a measure it exactly, and be able to recall it, write it down. Yeah, but that's a lock-in amplifier, and I became enamored with that sound. This is one of the most simple ones. And right now, I'm taking a lot of gain off because this runs very hot. And if I but that's the lock-in amplifier. And of course, we can do high things too. Let me just so you show, just changing the range. So with these simple ones, which most of them are, you're basically just pinging a filter that has a huge amount of gain, so you get nice distortions and create beautiful overtones. And when Joran came by to my studio, he's very inspired. He loves old test equipment, same as me. He loves it. Also from an engineering standpoint, which I don't feel equipped to appreciate, because if you and that's also a caveat for this whole like little thing and the Q&A we're gonna do later. I'm not very good at the technical stuff. For that, you'll have to invite Joran to come by. He's gonna explain to you what a Hilbert transform is, or you can watch the video on that, and why the filter like actually goes to 150 megahertz on Collide 4. So it's a thing. So but he was very curious about all the lock-in amplifiers. I showed him how the wall of test equipment works, how I make music with it, and then he thought, oh, this is cool. Next super booth, he came by again and said, shall we do something together, like a lock-in amplifier? And I was like, yeah, it could be interesting. And what got me was when he said, I want this to be good enough for science. And I said, oh, okay, he's serious. And of course, he took his own spin on it. Collide 4 is not just a lock-in amplifier. It can be so many more things. It's a modular instrument. So many things are laid open for you. You've got, through 0 FM, you've got a frequency shifter, because he realized that the lock-in amplifier shares many, many properties with a lock-in amplifier. And I'm going to show you some of these things in a bit, what it can do. But yeah, that was the start of this collaboration. We had a lot of back and forth. He built this huge prototype on a breadboard and sent me sounds. I said, what if we try this? What if we try this? Can you try this? Can we try this? Until we got the signal flow to a way where it does exactly the thing that this does. These beautifully overdriven bass lines, these delicate pings. But of course, these things, there's no control voltage. So I need to assemble a bunch of them to actually like just have different pitches, which with Collide 4, you can have 1 or 2, and you can do all the things that I needed a whole wall for. And the modular that you're seeing here right in front of you is actually my attempt at a live setup version of my wall. And I'm developing this. I just put this together. I mean, developing. I'm like getting modules and putting them screwing in. So I just put it together. So, but this is the first try. And there's a few things that I think work really well in that mindset of trying to be in that test equipment music mindset. And that is the simplicity of something like step 8, where you've got just 8 sliders and steps, and you program your rhythms by basically plugging cable here, plugging cable there. I'm gonna do that in a bit. And then I wanted big knobs, so I got this music thing modular control with 4 knobs. And I think I'm gonna set this up so I can control like the filter from this, so I don't have to go through the spaghetti. And yeah, this is a first try. But what I can show you now is the very simple patch that's similar. Oh, sorry. Not overblowing. That's very similar to what I did here. So while these just have an amplifier input, Collide 4 has a ping input. So you can send a simple trigger signal and it will create that into a trigger. Usually these will double trigger, as will many of these test equipment filters, if you send them a gate or a trigger that's not short enough. So the ping input takes care of that. So I'm going to put this here. And I'm going to use a clock from maths. That goes into step. And this should run now. Yeah, now it runs. Good. And now we need outputs. Collide 4 has 9 outputs. And the first one we're going to try is the monitor, because that's very related to this one. But I'm going to mix them in a bit, so I'm running it into this VCA Quintet mixing console by ADAC, which is 5 VCAs. Output into here. Good, it's resonant. Got a little ping. So Collide 4, like its predecessors, has a lot of gain. All in all, you got 130 decibels of gain range. So you get a good amount of gain here on the switchable input. Switchable because that will definitely avoid suddenly when you're playing live to completely like blow out the speakers. And then you've got another 60 on tap here. A second. Make it sound good. Good. So here we go. And if you leave the overload light, you can really have it clean or rough. And that was one of the things I insisted when we made this. I wanted a big overload light, and Joran turned it into something where you can really see, like, if you are distorting. This is not just input. This means wherever in the chain you are distorting, you're going to see it here. So that's the monitor. This is basically amplifier and filter only, without any processing, any further processing. So now we can try another output, which is the mag output, which is, it calculates the magnitude of the blah 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 relationships, phase relationships and such, and it gives you a sound that is remindful of the hard chopping that these things do. And I like to mix the two. So what I'm doing here, the filter can be set to either track the oscillator or to be its own thing. So you get these kind of modulated sounds. I need more gain. Yeah. And that's another reason why you want a lot of gain on this, because all these ghost notes can appear. So this is just the mag output. And now the monitor mixed in. And together they have a nice resonance. And the magic is kind of like finding the spot where the filter and the oscillator have a nice relationship to each other. And then try to play with the gain and the resonance and the filter width, because this is a variable bandpass filter. So it can be really sharp or it can be wide. If it's wide, you're gonna need a lot more resonance and gain to make it resonate. But if you do that, you're overloading everything so much you're getting a lot of nice, unexpected sounds. Of course, we can mix another output in. Maybe one from the frequency shifter. Now that's on ring modulation, but if I switch the frequency shifter, get these sounds that are kind of very heavy. And these are sounds that I look for when I do my film composing stuff. Something that really works with just 1 or 2 notes. And the nice thing is, these will also work in stereo. So now I'm gonna take this off here. I'm gonna put it into stereo field, because you get 90 degrees shifted outputs. You know, you get the up and the down frequency, sorry, of the frequency shifter. And that's something on the old units, I spent 1 hour per sound. So 1 hour on the lock-in amplifier to get 1 sound, and then I know, okay, now this has to stay in that key. I can't change it because there's no control voltage or anything. And it's a commitment, but yeah. So, but we've got, of course, we've got control voltage over everything. So I just take now this little quantizer here, and I'm putting it into the volt per octave. And I'm setting up and this is a time constant control. Time constant, you can see it here. It's basically a 12 decibel low pass filter, which was meant to average your data. On Collide 4, we have the same thing. It allows you to have aggressively distorted sounds and then filter them. The monitor won't be affected. This is only for the sounds that come out of the frequency shifter and XY outputs. So, and basically what I would now do if I were to prepare a live set, I would just set up 1 rhythm here, 1 sound here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here. And like on the originals, I would then just try to play as minimally as possible with these instruments, because that's part of the beauty of test equipment music, for me at least, is that it makes everything simple, because I personally tend to overproduce, overmodulate when I play my patches. I tend to make too much. So I try to keep it simple, but that's why I've got 4 of these. That's what I would try, to set up something where each of them follows a function. And maybe we find 1 sound here, then we find another interesting sound here that does something completely different. 1 here and 1 here. And by that, I can probably show you some more of the functions on this, because it's not just gonna be boom, boom all the time. So let me see. Okay, that's already nice. I don't know what I did, why it sounds like this right now. Perfect. Okay, let's keep it like this. Good. Next one. The next one should be something more musical. So, not musical, that's wrong. Something more that has a pattern to it. So, of course, you've got an oscillator here, and you've got a filter, and the filter can self-resonate. And that means you've got 2 things you can play with. So I'm gonna run that into something. So I'm making the monitor output needs to go here. Why no sound here for 1 second? You are not resonating because I turned you down? No? No, because I took your cable off. Okay. So, you quiet? So now, just want to sign something clean. So I'm setting this to resonate. Ah! I choose the worst one. That's the prototype. That resonates not as well. It's very fragile. It's a very fragile resonance. Because if I try this on this one, oh, you're gonna be very loud. Yeah, stable resonance. So I'm gonna use this one. And now I'm gonna use an X out. I'm gonna use this. Let's run this to the EFM. And then let's take this XY. Now let's set this a sequence, because the other one is nice when it just does. And because there's 2 ring modulators in here, you can access them directly. Which one of you is giving the clock? You? Okay, so I'm gonna change it. Ah, okay, you don't need it. Cool. Okay, next one. So let's try the prototype, maybe with an easier job. I'm just gonna, that's one thing I really like about step 8. You just see a step, use that step, put it into the ping, and then put this into XY. Let's see what it does. You're getting a ping, but I'm not hearing you. Why? You're in 4, but why? Ah, here we go. Just quiet. I'm sorry, I really love these kind of like starved sounds. That's something that I really enjoy about lock-in amplifiers. That's why I'm actually one of the worst persons to demo this, because I'm just trying to rebuild what I do at home. So, but I love it. And another cool thing about Collide 4 is that it has 2 inputs for any signal. And these are differential inputs, like on test equipment. So one is inverted to the other. So if you put in the same signal, it's just going to be quiet. But you can now use this to send it, maybe something maybe stackable. I'm trying to stay on brand here using only Joranalogue's cable. They're really nice though, but just need a stackable sometimes. So I'm now putting this also into the in. Ooh! It's like a very weird 808 cowbell. What's the other sound again that we had here? Interesting. Ah, okay. Because I'm sending from the scan, this module takes any voltage that I'm sending it as a signal to ping, basically. Well. That was a bit too quick to get a semi-working groove already. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the rest of the time? Okay, I brought this. This is a Hohner guitarette. And that's another thing that you can do great with Collide 4 is amplify anything, like a bass guitar or a electric guitar or something like this, which was supposed to replace the guitar. Spoiler alert, it didn't. So this is from 1963, made up until 1965. And that was from a time when Hohner, who mostly known for accordions now and the pianet, tried to innovate a lot. So this is basically, like it's this German space kalimba. And you can do some wonderful things with it. Let me just, okay, I'm gonna take a stereo track from this. I'm gonna run it through the frequency shifter because that's beautiful on this. I hope. So, always takes some time to get things set up and the gain staging correct. Gain staging is, after all, everything. Ah, here. That's pretty good already. Let's make the frequency shift, the LFO. Let's turn the oscillator for the frequency shifter into an LFO by using this switch. Can you hear it moving through the room? Left to right? Because when you tune a frequency shifter low, it will do a panner. And let's put some modulation on that. Oh, maybe we try to make more stacks. What happens if we use, maybe from here, if we take this and try to put it into the oscillator and let it run with the other ones all quiet, preferably now. Shift it more. Open up the filter. A little bit of overdrive here. But you can hear how clean the frequency shifting is with this. But we can also, I think, give it a bit more gain and see what happens then. Fill it. Ah! Envelope follower. Let's do that. Because we got a monitor output that's basically unaffected by the frequency shifter. We could theoretically run this into maths and then turn that into a... I shouldn't talk with the cable in my mouth. And then turn that into an envelope that we could then use to do something else. Maybe trigger the through zero FM. Okay. What else is doing that sound? I need to turn off these. Just take, which one is this? This is number... This one? Okay. Why is it doing this? Where's this getting its rhythm from?
Directly from the leftmost collector into the output module.
Left? This? No, but this is where I run this in?
For you left.
Ah! This is still...
They modulated or what's like lower inputs on the right side of the module? The cables run directly to the output. Yes,
You're
yes.
correct, but these are still... If I plug them, there's not... There's a... I'm just wondering why this is getting so much rhythm. From what? Because this is just here. Ah, this is what per octave? That's enough to trigger it. Okay, cool. Okay, cool. Oh, that works. Shred. That's cool. Yeah, so now we're sending an envelope follower that's generated from the monitor output, and then it makes a shape, maths makes a shape, that modulates the through zero FM, and that does all these. Ooh, I like this. And what you could also do now, because maths doesn't have end of cycle, oh, end of release. We could ping it after that. End of rise, right? It needs to be the end of, the other side is end of cycle. Why is it doing this? Will you ping? Let's try the other side. Do this to here, put this to here, turn on. Yeah, it pings. Don't make it sound good. It's like a weird duck. Oh. Why? Cool. Come on, show me your end of cycle. Ping. If that works. Theoretically, it should. That's just so quick. You go down, it gets too much signal. Ah, now it works. Yeah, now we got a sequence, because now the ping is sent back to the monitor, so we got a feedback system where it just keeps constantly playing itself. Just gotta make it sound good. Maybe there was more resonance on this. Bass is good, but now this is too much because it's resonating. Oh, but if we use this now to control the sequencer. So this becomes also a clock for this. Step. And now this should still run into the volt per octave here. That's cool. And now we use the sequencer to influence the both of attack and release. I think I might run into the limits of stackables here. Okay, I need. This is not. This does not need to. Oh, this needs to be a stackable. Does this need to be a stackable? That's a constant. Ah, I've got one more. These things are so expensive that I don't have that many of them, but I love them. Aha. Oh. Cool. Yeah, I can see there's a bunch of stuff. I mean, that's what I said. It's like the beauty is in the patch cables and not in the modules themselves. Well, a little bit. But, okay, did we make anything? I lost track. I wanted to actually make a piece, but let's see if I actually like, if this can work together. Because we now changed the clock, we changed everything. These are now boring. Everything is just boring. Why? Because I took out all the cables, huh? Okay. So this goes here, but it's not doing anything anymore. Ah, turned it down. Turned down the output, and this goes not anymore where it's supposed to go. I think that's the problem. Yeah, okay. I don't remember this. Who of you is doing crazy? This one. Prototype, of course you. Oh! And I stole some CV here. 1 volt per octave I stole. Or I used the stackable and it's a broken stackable and it doesn't transmit that anymore. I don't know if any of this sounds actually good, but it sounds interesting at least. And it can be, like, that's the main thing. Like, to get, like, a basis of something that can be interesting in patching. Ah, that's wonderful. And there was one thing I wanted to try. Yeah, because, of course, you can plug in contact mics into Collide 4 too. And do simple party tricks, like pitch shifting. Not pitch shifting, frequency shifting, you boys. Very important distinction. So this should be in here. I'm gonna tear off everything just so we're clear, and I'm gonna make this into here and this into here. Here. I'm actually a banana guy. So patching with like a Eurorack on stage after 7 years of banana patching is a bit of stress. So, whoa, hello. Whoa, this is me. I'm talking here. Oh, can you hear what I'm saying? Hello? Stop feedbacking. Stop feedbacking. Stop feedbacking. Stop doing that. It's cool that you want me to do bass drums, but is that my pulse? No. Woo! 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 Hello. Ah! No? Ping! Ping was on. Why don't you say anything? You can see that better than I do from down there. You've got, after all, a blown-up image here. So. Hello. Hi. Hi. This is my confident voice. This is how I talk when I really know what I'm doing. Yes, this should be the voice. Oh, this is better. No, that's not better. You can understand something that I can say. You understand what I'm saying. You do understand what I'm saying. This is just the X minus Y output. And this is the X plus Y output. That's a bit dark. That's a bit dark. But this is the frequency shifter. And it's pretty cool. And it sounds nice in stereo. Things like that. And of course, the whole table can become then musical. For it, a little bit of tape. Oh, there's tape. Perfect. Oh, can I take this? Oh, no, it doesn't work anymore. Theoretically. Yeah, your own Simmons in a second. So, yeah. How are we for time? 5 minutes. Okay, 5 more minutes. 5. Okay, no, okay, we can do 5 minutes, and then we can do a short break, and then we can do questions and answers. Because yeah, I thought it was like I had talked like 20 minutes, but apparently, okay. So I'm gonna tear a bunch of this apart. And yeah, Collide 4. So basically a few things. So we made the first batch of 300. All of them are basically, I think, spoken for. Second batch of another 300 is coming in January. And yeah, it's a huge module and everything is very warm here. This is like, there's this Joranalogue, he posted a spec sheet and I was blown away by how many parts it has and what it all does. He's a cool guy to work with. He's such a, when you see someone who is such a dedicated specialist and just loves the art of analog so much, it's just heartwarming. Because one thing that I really appreciate about the whole modular scene is the nerdiness and the dedicatedness. And everywhere I go, everywhere I've played, like most of my shows early on were like playing at modular shows. I organized my own modular shows here together with Navs and Richard Scott called Basic Electricity. And that was the best thing. And when you see someone of a similarly nerdy level, when you ask him a question, like, could we do it like this? And then you can see like the eyes, someone like going inwards and like, you can, okay, now he's looking at schematics inside his head. That's a beautiful thing. It's like when you talk about music and you're thinking, oh, the instrumentation. Yes, I've got, and then this going back into yourself and then coming up with an idea. That's one of the most beautiful things about the modular community next to the patch cables. So I think we can take the break now.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.